I spin in circles, I scream to the void. A fort in oasis, my rage is employed. A storm in my chest, it burns and destroys. Dance with the chaos, spin till you fall. It burns and screeches the end of it all. Round and round until we crawl. This is the inferno, the polka brawl. Your lies are balloons, they pop in my face. I'll stop on the floor, leave no empty space. A carnival riot, no room for disgrace. Buttons clicking, hearts are ticking. Fists are flying, skies are splitting. Dance with the chaos, spin till you fall. A bird and screeches the end of it all. Round and round until we crawl. This is the inferno, the polka brawl. The tuba's a demon, the snare drum's a beast. The accordion's fury will never be ceased. This is a battle of musical faith. The polka goes harder than hell's unleashed.
Sorry for dead airing the stream. That was my fault. My fault. My fault, bros, for dead airing. That was it. I was totally not learning how to play the accordion song on the guitar. You know? Yeah, totally not doing that. But also, that song freaking rules. Here, I'll link it in chat, Thumper. It's pretty damn good, man. Buttons clicking, hearts are ticking. That's what the chaos spread through it all. Round and round until we crawl. Bop, 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 bop. This is the inferno. All right, how are you doing? Welcome to the Space News, the Space and Rocket Review. You two girls, tell your friends, Space and Rocket Review. So something is going on with Dream Chaser, and I purposely. I mean, we talked a little bit when we were playing Kerbal before. It got a little heated. But we are passionate about space, and we understand this, right? Apparently Dream Chaser's mission is changing. Now, I'm not sure if this is good news or not, so I'm going to do a little bit of investigative journalism while on stream here. So let's go read and let's figure out what's going on, because yeah, it's not doesn't seem great. But anyway, here we go. Let's go here. So, a 2-minute read. This was posted by Sandra Jones today. NASA, Sandra Jones, the PAO for NASA. NASA and Sierra Space modify commercial resupply services contract. In 2016, NASA awarded a commercial resupply services 2 contract to Sierra Space, formerly part of Sierra Nevada Corporation, to resupply the International Space Station with its Dream Chaser spaceplane and companion Shooting Star cargo module. As a part of its contract, Sierra Space was awarded a minimum 7 flights, and the agency previously issued firm fixed-price task orders for 4 Dream Chaser resupply missions based on the needs of the space station. After a thorough evaluation, NASA and Sierra Space have mutually agreed to modify the contract as the company determined Dream Chaser development is best served by a free flight demonstration, targeted in late 2026. Sierra Space will continue providing insight into NASA into the development of Dream Chaser, including through the flight demonstration. NASA will provide minimal support through the remainder of the development and flight demonstration. As part of the modification, NASA is no longer obliged for a specific number of resupply missions. However, the agency may order Dream Chaser resupply flights to the space station from Sierra Space following a successful free flight as part of its current contract. Development of new space transportation systems is difficult and can take longer than what's originally planned. The ability to perform a flight demonstration can be a key enabler in a spacecraft's development and readiness, as well as offering greater flexibility for NASA and Sierra Space, said Dana Weigel, manager of NASA's International Space Station program. As NASA and its partners look towards space station deorbit in 2030, this mutually agreed to decision enables testing and verification to continue on Dream Chaser, as well as demonstrating the capabilities of the space plane for future resupply missions in low Earth orbit. NASA and its commercial and international partners will continue to supply the orbital complex with critical science, supplies, and hardware as the agency prepares to transition to commercial space stations in low Earth orbit. NASA continues to work with a variety of private companies to develop a competitive space industrial base for cargo services, which will be needed for future commercial space stations. With a strong economy in low Earth orbit, NASA will be one of the many customers in a private industry as the agency explores the moon under the Artemis campaign and Mars, along with commercial and international partners.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
It's never flying, is it, bros? It's never flying, is it? I have Sierra's press release here. What are they on about? Sierra Space announces strategic transition for Dream Chaser spaceplane to expand capabilities and mission readiness for a multi-use demonstration flight. Sierra Space, a proven defense tech company delivering solutions for the nation's most critical missions and advancing the future of security in space. Are you sure about that? Announced today a strategic transition for its Dream Chaser spaceplane. Dream Chaser's first flight will be a free flyer demonstration mission, which is expected to prove the technology and deliver critical data to NASA. I have the Ars article. I want to see what Eric has to say about this. I'm curious. This approach aims to provide Sierra Space with flexibility to address the nation's most pressing national security space challenges, while continuing to advance Dream Chaser's capabilities for NASA and commercial customers. Sierra Space is prioritizing first flight readiness with Dream Chaser, targeting a launch in late 2026 to align with its expected launch vehicle availability. Sierra Space and NASA work together to reach this mutually beneficial agreement that provides greater mission flexibility for Dream Chaser's first flight. This flight aims to demonstrate critical capabilities for NASA's ISS resupply and future commercial low Earth orbit destination missions and position Dream Chaser as a national asset available for future national security and defense demonstrations. As America's spaceplane, we believe its adaptability as an orbital hypersonic spacecraft and rapid deployment commercial testbed is current. Okay, just spare this nonsense. Tell us what's going on. Sorry. Additionally, Dream Chaser has unique features and capabilities as a commercial autonomous spaceplane with the ability to land on any conventional runway. Yeah, we know it. We know it's a spaceplane. We get it. All right. Dream Chaser represents the future of versatile space transportation. Yeah, it's been representing the future of that for the last 10 years. Ooh, another pad deluge test. Sweet. About Sierra Space. That's it? That's it. That's it? Can Bluefus tow this? Yeah, sure. I want to hear what Eric has to say. Genuinely curious here. Starkey EJ's the most funny. Yeah, I'm glad you're amused, man. I'm angry. That article is from August the 4th, way before this. Oh. It is from August 4th. When will Sierra Space wing vehicle Dream Chaser finally take flight? This is an article from August 4th. All right, let's see. Dream Chaser spaceplane has been under development for more than 2 decades and has a huge cult following because of its wing shape. Its wing shape mimics the iconic space shuttle. However, during a recent news briefing, a senior NASA official would only say this about a launch date: "We'll be ready for them when they're ready to fly." Comments came from Dana Weigel, who is the program manager of the ISS. The aerospace has had a contract with NASA to deliver cargo to the space station. Its first flight is intended to visit the space station. Weigel was asked about the Dream Chaser at a news briefing on Friday, following the successful launch of Crew 11. They're in final assembly. They're doing lots of tests, and they're doing what I call final certification work. Some of the big key areas that they're focused on is software certification. You got to test end-to-end all the different software functions, so that's a big focus area for them. And then they're still working on certification in the prop system. I watched that press conference. I missed that part. That's a huge red flag in retrospect. There were some notable tidbits of news in this comment. First of all, it appears NASA has learned its lesson from the first troubled flight of Starliner, which had significant software problems during its debut flight in December of 2019. After this experience, it appears the space agency is requiring an end-to-end test of the spacecraft's flight software prior to visiting the space station. Additionally, there is a fact that Sierra is still working to recertify Dream Chaser's propulsion system. The spacecraft is powered by more than 24 small rocket engines, each capable of operating at 3 discrete levels of thrust for fine control or more significant orbit adjustments. Hang on, I lost audio for a second. I'm going to turn on Starbase Live so the headset doesn't go out. These thrusters consume a mix of kerosene and hydrogen peroxide propellants. Okay. They tried. I see what they're doing here. I get it now. I'll talk more about that in a second. These thrusters consume a mix of kerosene and hydrogen peroxide propellants rather than the more common toxic hypergolic propellants that ignite on contact. We wanted to have a fuel system that was green instead of using hypergols, so we could land it on a runway and we could walk up to the vehicle without being in hazmat suits. Tom Weiss, then Sierra's chief executive, told Lars in late 2023. That was tough. That was hard, I have to say. Apparently, it's still because, according to Weigel, the process to finish testing the propulsion system and certify it for an uncrewed spacecraft remains ongoing. We still have some of our integrated safety reviews to do, and we're in the process of updating both of our schedules to try and understand where does that really put us. And so Sierra's working on that, and so I need to wait and just get information back from them to see where they think some of that work lines out. First mission may not berth with the ISS. According to one source, Sierra is considering a modification to its first mission to shorten the certification period. Yep. Well, that proved to be right. The company had planned to fly the vehicle close enough to the space station such that it could be captured and berthed to the orbiting laboratory. One option now under consideration is a mission that would bring Dream Chaser close enough to the station to test key elements of the vehicle in flight, but not have it berth. This would increase confidence in the spacecraft's propulsion system and provide the data NASA and partner space agencies need to clear the vehicle to approach and berth with the station on its second flight. However, this would require a modification of the company's contract with NASA, and a financial decision has not been reached on whether to perform a flyby mission before an actual berthing. It appears highly unlikely that Dream Chaser will be ready for its debut spaceflight this year for technical reasons. Another challenge is the availability of the Vulcan launch vehicle. After years of delays, Vulcan is finally due to make its first national security launch. It did do that. It was successful. Assuming this launch is successful, Vulcan has a busy manifest for the coming months. Given this, it is uncertain when a Vulcan launch vehicle will become available for Dream Chaser, which was initially designated to fly on Vulcan's second flight. However, because Dream Chaser was not ready last fall, that rocket flew with a mass simulator on its second launch back in October of 2024. So, how much was that contract worth? Sounds so much like, hey, Boeing screwed up, now you have to take it slower. That's not how I understood that. Let's take a look here. What do we have? Three companies were awarded contracts on January 14th, 2016. Dream Chaser, Dragon, and Cygnus. The maximum potential value of all the contracts was indicated to be $14 billion, but the minimum value is considerably less. CRS-2 launches commenced in 2019 and will extend to at least 2024. As of December of 2017, NASA has awarded $2.6 billion on three contracts with a combined not to exceed value of $14 billion. NASA officials have explained that selecting three companies rather than two for CRS-2 increases cargo capabilities and ensures more redundancy in the event of a contractor failure or schedule delay. Yeah. Commercial Crew Development Phase 1 in 2010. They got $20 million. Phase 2, $80 million. CCI cap, 212. $212 million. So 100 million, 312.5 million. CCT cap. $312.5 million thus far. That's what they lost CCT cap to Dragon and Starliner, and they protested it. They lost the commercial crew thing because their thruster system didn't work. Yeah, their thrusters were not good. I want to point out they lost because look, they lost it because their thrusters weren't working in 2014, guys. 2014. That was 11 years ago. CRS-2 selection. Okay, drop test. Did they lose because they weren't working? I do believe the design was not mature enough at the time, Aqualex. Apparently it's too, apparently it's, apparently it's too mature. It's not matured now for NASA. I don't know what that means, but whatever. It was the hybrid abort engines. That's what it was. Sorry. You know what? Let's just go up here to the top. I'm just curious. Control find $sign. So, okay. So they got 300 million through for the commercial crew. Yeah, okay. Boeing and SpaceX received a $1.4 billion investment in Series A funding, which it would use to develop a crewed version of Dream Chaser and fly astronauts by 2025. On October 25th, 2021, Blue Origin and Sierra Space released their plan for a commercial orbital space station. Station called, yeah, their Orbital Reef. Yeah, okay, whatever. $1.4 billion in investment. So the total money sunk into Sierra Space for explicitly for Dream Chaser is $1.7 billion over the last 10 years. Well, 15, let's say. Ellis, you know, I was talking to Bree about how I would approach this for Space News when I was on break a second ago. Dude, I love Dream Chaser. It's awesome. I'm not trying to go, like, barking up Sierra's tree or anything. Like, I'm not trying to put them on blast. But, what have you been doing the last 15 years? Where did that $1.4 billion go? You burned $1.4 billion in 4 years? For a spacecraft that was already designed. What do you... Like, I'm not trying to be a jackass. Like, what have you been doing? Like, guys just show up to work, you got your coffee, you got your pocket protector? What are you doing? Like, I'm just dead serious. Where are the drop tests? Where are the drop tests? Where's the, approach and landing tests? Like, what have you been doing? One spaceship. One. No, I know they did them, Aqualex. I get it. Like, how does the funding and timeline compare to the handbook, considering waterfall testing? Okay, you really want my honest opinion? I'll tell you right now. I really need to know how much they got for that CRS-2 selection in order to really be able to tell you, Aqualex, because I'll be honest with you. They got $212 million to Sierra, okay? $212 million for the commercial crew integrated capability. They got $80 million for CC Dev Phase 2, $20 million for Phase 1. $312 million. Dudes, I'm not trying to defend him. That's not a lot. That's not a lot of cash to make something like this. That's not a lot. But, but, this is where there's a lot more to this story that's being told, especially being told to these reporters. I know. I get it. I get there. Obviously, something is wrong here. I'm trying to put my finger on what that might be. I will say that that's not a good amount of cash, but SpaceX got similar funding for Dragon. Granted, Dragon is a little bit simpler than Dream Chaser. What I don't get is how you can have a $1.4 billion Series A investment and then... Ugh. What do we... Underestimate the ability of people to grift the government. I get it. I get it. I mean, I really want to know how much they got for CRS2. So, you know what? Let's just put that in there. So maximum is 14 billion. Okay, but that's for like the maximum amount of missions, right? NASA's not yet owner any missions will make total of 6 selections from each menu of options at fixed prices as needed. Found a PDF, but it's redacted. Sorry, this is a little bit of an unconventional space news. I'm just trying to get some information here. There's a deep dive almost every space news. All right, fine, whatever. Just trying to look around. We'll check that PDF in a second. What's this one, Baron? You find something? I don't see anything. Yeah, it's Starbase Live, so the headset doesn't go off. Who's honking? Some trucker at Starbase Live is... Yeah. SNC wanted to become a jack of all trades. They took the money they got from investors that was planned for Dream Chaser, and they created a new commercial company called Sierra Space that was planned to be a DoD contractor. Funny enough, they lost all contracts to L3 Harris and SpaceX. It's for context what happened to check the message. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So we don't, it's redacted. Let me just keep looking in the PDF. I'm trying to see termination for cause. The government may terminate this contract. Okay. Yeah, they all the contract line stuff has been redacted. So we don't know how much they got paid, if at all. Dude, so okay, what I'm getting at here is that look, they got 300 million to develop this thing from Commercial Crew, didn't get the contract, right? And then that was in 2014. In 2016, they got that CRS2 contract. Who knows how much that was for? And then they got a $1.4 billion, $1.4 billion Series A funding for Dream, like it's specifically for Dream Chaser. I, Where's that? Let me show you. Let me see if we can find that source. Hold on. Sierra Space reported that it received a $1.4 billion investment in Series A, which would use to develop a crew version of Dream Chaser and fly astronauts by 2025. Okay. Who wrote this article? Get the frick off the screen. They're paid on delivery milestones. So yeah, they didn't get anything from that. Okay, cool. Because it was fixed price per mission. Think. What's this? USA spending? The CRS2 contract is a delivery order. Yeah. I mean, this isn't just for Dream Chaser, guys. This is for everything. It's interesting that, well, it's, yeah. I'm just trying to see how much money has gotten sunk into this thing for it to sit in a hangar. But clearly it's over $1 billion, but I mean, most of that's private. Most of it's private investment. Something weird's going on here. It's too hard to tell what it is. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. It's hard to say. It does look cool. Yeah. Made us think because they didn't get on the first contract, and then when they got the second contract that says we'll distribute the missions fairly, NASA seemed to slow roll the propulsion certification and said, "Oops, you didn't get any missions." No wonder they started trying to diversify. Yeah. I don't know. Is Dream Chaser not going to fly at all? NASA basically took Dream Chaser and Sierra Space out of CRS-2. And Dream Chase, basically NASA and Sierra Space agreed to have Dream Chaser do a free flight in 2026, basically a year from now. A year from now, to not even go to the space station, just go up. This one includes SNC. What is this? They're still supposed to receive money from NASA, right? So where does the cash go? Okay, at least orbit is better than rotting in a hangar. Space facts. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think it's not going anywhere. I don't think it's ever going to launch. There, I said it. I don't. Something ain't adding up here, dudes. But it looks like they got maybe 250 million from NASA so far. Yeah, they should probably pay that back, huh? I know, Sierra, you can't, that's not an end all, the USA spending is not an end all be all, because that's showing all contracts, guys. That's not showing just contracts for Dream Chaser, you know? NASA should just completely ditch the contract. That's basically what they just did, Hellfish. They said, hey, ready? And they said, well, and they said, all right, go fly it whenever you're ready, and we'll get back to you. That's basically what just happened. Maybe NASA's being more cautious after the Starliner debacle. It's possible. Baron, so some odd news. My friends at Marshall Space Flight Center are telling me that the center director had an all-hands meeting today. It got canceled and the director just got fired. Nice. So is this like the time Boeing bailed on NASA with the XS-1? Correct. To me, it really looks like NASA said, we don't think you're ready, and Sierra said, let us prove it. So, Aqualex, I'm not trying to say that you're wrong, but take a look. Here, I'll go over here. What do you think of that, dude? Oh. Hey, Steve. This article's by Seth Krakowski over at Space Explored. This is from 2 years ago, guys. So, trying to cut your burn. Well, read. Sierra Space lays off part of staff after completing first space plane. Sierra Space realigning its priorities. Sierra Space confirmed to CNBC that the company laid off about 165 employees this week. The company laid off an unknown number of contractors that worked on Dream Chaser's construction. In total, the number could be in the hundreds. First Dream Chaser spaceplane was completed earlier this month and shipped off to Armstrong in Ohio for testing before launch. It's one of the final steps before Dream Chaser is sent down to Florida for integration on a ULA Vulcan rocket. The layoffs come as Sierra Space plans to reshuffle its priorities now that it has completed the first of its space planes. The company went on a hiring spree earlier in the year to get enough personnel to catch up on the work needed to launch Dream Chaser next year. Sierra Space is also moving 150 employees with security clearances over from SNC, of which Sierra Space was spun out a few years ago to focus on classified security contracts. We know that Dream Chaser will have many use cases. Yep, okay. Company's pretty tight-lipped on what sort of offerings Dream Chaser can bring to the DoD. Yep. What if they're trying to sell it? So they got close enough and now they're ramping it down until they get an offer. Fellas, it sounds like they're pivoting. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like they're going to go do something else. It sounds like Sierra Space... It sounds like Sierra Space is pivoting to more defense contracts, and I don't know what the hell they're doing with Dream Chaser. Sierra Space, as I was told, was planned to get some SDA contracts. Yep. Funnily enough, L3 Harris teamed up with SpaceX on Starshield. L3 Harris is developing the sensors, and Sierra Space got caught with their pants down. They fired nearly everybody who worked on her. The moment she got in thermal vac testing, the tiles literally snapped off. Then they rolled her back to the factory, and she's been there since early 2024. Isn't it at the Cape, Baron? I just don't. This doesn't sound like they're getting slow rolled, Aqualex. I think that they're dragging their feet. Got the Gabe. She didn't pass thermal vac testing. Could corporate espionage have anything to do with this? I don't know, goalie. Maybe. Eric Berger just posted a new article about this. Oh. All right. What's Eric up to? This is just now. The Dream Chaser spaceplane, which has been under development for 2 decades now, seems like it might be further than ever from taking flight. On Thursday, NASA confirming an earlier Ars Technica report. Once again, fellas, you can say whatever you want about Eric Berger, but his sources are good. His sources are usually spot on. Like, I'm not sure I particularly agree with how he looks at how the, like the state of the, spaceflight industry should be, but yeah, his sources are ace, dude. They're really good. Said the first flight of the winged spacecraft will no longer berth to the ISS. Rather, it would be best served by a free flight demonstration. Development of a new space transportation system is difficult and can take longer than what's originally planned. Yep. As NASA and its partners look forward to the space station, this is what we already read. I want to see what Eric's thoughts are on this, just out of curiosity. Development work on Dream Chaser began in 2004 when a company named Space Dev resurrected a NASA concept known as the HL-20 spaceplane. Sierra Nevada Corporation acquired Space Dev in 2008 and proceeded to win $362 million in NASA contracts to work on crewed transport to the space station. Yep. Yep, that's pretty much in line with what we found. Sierra Nevada ultimately lost out on the commercial crew competition to Boeing and SpaceX, but in 2016, a cargo version of Dream Chaser was on-ramped onto a NASA program to deliver cargo to the space station. As part of its contract, Sierra Space was awarded a minimum of 7 flights to the space station. Total value of the contracts for dozens of supply missions to be split among SpaceX, Northrop Grumman, and Sierra was $14 billion. A NASA spokesperson declined Thursday to say how much money has been allocated to Sierra for working on a cargo version of Dream Chaser. However, in its news release, NASA said it's no longer obligated to a specific number of resupply missions. Rocket Guy, what's up, dude? Cover the Swift Telescope rescue news. I did. We mentioned it, but I didn't really get into detail. I'm wondering what the hell's going on with Dream Chaser, Rocket Guy. It's yep. Dream Chaser represents the future. Not saying how much money was allocated is not great. Yep. This transition provides unique capabilities to meet the needs of diverse mission profiles, including emerging and existential threats to national security. Yep. Although the NASA news release does not detail the space agency's concerned about allowing Dream Chaser to approach the station, sources have told ours the space agency has yet to certify the spacecraft's propulsion system. Okay, Baron. The spacecraft is powered by more than 24 small rocket engines, each capable of operating at 3 discrete levels of thrust for fine control. It's a pretty trick design, dude. I see what they're doing. So, like, I was saying before that the thruster design is too complicated, but if they were using hypergalls, fellas, they would have to have, like, 3 different thrusters where there's one of these. So that's your trade-off. There's the trade-off there. Hypergalls would require 3 different sizes of thrusters for 3 different sizes of maneuvers. This one is 1 thruster that does 3 things, but it has a more complicated propellant feeding system. But This sounds like what you'd do if you were worried about dry mass. So one of the challenges of building a space plane, space shuttle, X-37, Dream Chaser, is that you're lugging around all your aero surfaces up in space, and that really, really kills you. It kills your efficiency because the wings aren't doing anything when they're just floating around in space. So I see why they opted for this type of thruster. It makes sense. They were trying to simplify the thruster design. NASA didn't seem to be on board with that, though. Mass, Baron, would probably be my guess, dude. But I see the trade. I still would have gone with hypergalls. Just borrow thrusters from the space shuttle. Go with what you know. I would have used those exact design. I would have went to L3 Harris and be like, yo, I need those. I need a lot of those, like right now. But I understand why they did what they did. Like, that makes more sense. I wasn't getting the 3 discrete levels from one thruster when I was playing KSP earlier. I get it. This is why I was like, no, stop. I need to go figure this out. Yep. Certification is a necessary precursor for allowing a vehicle to approach the orbiting laboratory. Sierra is now targeting late 2026, but that date is far enough in the future that it's likely subject to Berger's law. Eric, don't cite your own. Probably means net 2027. He is right. Yep. This all but precludes a cargo mission to the International Space Station, which is scheduled to be deorbited in 2030. Presently has two more than capable supply vehicles with Dragon and Cygnus. It's possible that Dream Chaser could serve a future market of commercial space stations in low Earth orbit, but to do so, Sierra will have to get the vehicle flying reliably, frequently, and at a relatively low cost to compete with Dragon and Cygnus. Those are big hurdles for a spacecraft that is now many years behind schedule and no longer has any guaranteed government missions. She ain't flying. She ain't gonna fly, dude. Worst, best case scenario, Sierra Space is putting it on the back burner and getting some defense contracts so they can fund this. I'm just really wondering where that $1.4 billion went. Where did that go? $1.4 billion is enough to... That's enough to develop a spaceship. Remember, this is uncrewed. That's more than enough. Dragon was... Dude, that is almost Dragon 2, which is human rated, which is way harder to make. Like... No, I get it, Aqualex. It's a cool design. I see why they did it. I see why they're doing that. That's a good idea. You save a lot of mass that way. You save a lot of dry mass that way. I get it. I understand. It's not just environment and stuff. It's like early offload capability when it comes back, etc., etc. Simplified thruster design at the expense of way more complicated plumbing, but I get it. I understand. Now, mass trade-off is good by adding another fuel tank holding RP-1 that's less dense than hypergal's question. All that extra plumbing, dude, and all that extra thrusters, Baron, like it must have been a thing, dude. Clarification, what's that type of stream rocket review like what you do there? What do you mean, astrophysics? What vehicle does Orbital Reef use now? No idea. I mean, it just goes back to what I'm saying. What have you been doing this whole time? I'm just genuinely curious. Like, they were making such good progress, and then they canned everybody. I don't understand. Yeah, right, Poison? Exactly. Yeah, it's so annoying, dude. Sounds like they're pivoting to Golden Dome. It sounds like they put Dream Chaser on the back burner because they're pursuing other defense contracts. They're pivoting. I look away for 15 seconds and now your kid is rolled under the TV stand. Hey, get out from under there. What are you doing? Hey, get out from under the TV. Hey, yeah, I'm talking to you. Get out, get out from under there. What are you doing? What are you doing? Why would you do that? Hey, don't touch the cables. Don't do that. Don't unplug me. Don't unplug this TV. I'm on the TV. Don't unplug the TV. What are you doing? The layoffs could be that they overhired. Something weird's going on here, username, and we'll probably never know. Everything was going so good. It sounded like they had every. It sounded like they were making good progress, and then they just canned everybody. There's something more to this, dudes. There's something more. Something else is going on here. Something fishy. I don't know what it is, man. The organization at Sierra Space is absolutely awful. Now, Cyborg, I have heard that. I've heard that before. I've heard that from people who roll in the same circles as us, dude. Yeah. I've heard that before. The program has been plagued by bad decisions and incompetence. It's so strange, kind of like Blue Origin laying off a ton of people in No Flight 2. Yeah, what's going on? Does it, like, man, you know what's popping into my mind? And I know guys, I probably shouldn't say this. Probably shouldn't say it out loud. You know what's popping in my mind? Does anybody care? Do you guys care about this? Like, do you care? Like, do you care? Not you guys. I'm talking about the people that have these contracts. Like, do you give a frick? Is SpaceX the only one that cares? Like, SpaceX and L3 got an SDA, yeah. Like, do you care? Like you just, it's just another job, right? SpaceX's relentless drive to achieve success as fast as possible make everybody else look terrible. I mean, Bill, there's making everybody else to look terrible, but I don't think you need SpaceX to say that this project is an absolute clusterfuck. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. My fault. Trying not to do that. I've been trying really hard not to swear as much. Like, brother, they did that to themselves. Like, ULA cares? I'm sure Tory Bruno was a little pissed off when he said we're going to launch Dream Chaser. Wait, never mind. Like, I mean, my virgin ears. What's up, Etel? Sorry, I'm trying to cut swearing out of my vocabulary completely, dudes. It's difficult. Difficult. Like, completely. And not just on stream, just completely. That's hard to do as somebody from the Northeast. You guys, kids under the TV, get out from under there. Hey, what are you doing? Like, I don't know. I'm sure the average person like to work at SpaceX is equally devastated when the project gets shut down. For sure, for sure. That's okay. You'll pick up slack for me. Thank you. Thank you. I thought it lowered your stress meter. Well, that's only swearing in Finnish. Hai capito? Perkele. That's see that now. See, we are de-stressing here. I guess ULA made the right decision to fly an internal Cert 2 rather than waiting for Dream Chaser. I don't think they had a choice, Phil. I think they said, what are you guys doing? And they're like, it's got tiles on it. And they're like, okay. Cement block it is. Call Tori, get the cement block. You know, like. Call Tori Bruno. Get the cement. Let's go. Shut up, Mimsy. It's got a funnel at the back. Like, it sucks, man. Why tiles on top? I have no idea. I don't know. Good freaking luck, Phaedrus. yeah, I don't know, man. Tenacity, more like difficulty. You know, like, okay. Even if, like, guys, I'm willing, like, I've been willing to give Dream Chaser the benefit of the doubt just because it's such a cool spacecraft. And I know that Sierra SNC was kind of banking on them getting a commercial crew contract, and that did kind of screw them a little bit, for sure. Like, but NASA did throw them a bone in 2016. That was pretty smart, you know. But you know, to get them on CRS2, that was pretty smart. But once again, like, what have you been doing? What have you been doing these past couple of years? Like, SpaceX had Dragon finished in 3 years. You know, it was operational in 4. Resupplying the space station, right? Dragon 2 started development in earnest in like 2014, and they had people flying on it in 2016 or 2020, excuse me.
The Eagle has landed.
Sierra is a banker and they have no interest.
Space capsules aren't easy. Look at Starliner. The same could be said about them, Graham. It goes back to my question. Like, do you guys care? Like, what are you doing? Dragon 1 had the benefit of operating Dragon 2. Yeah, I understand that. But see, here's the thing. Like, I understand Dragon is a simpler vehicle, right? It's a capsule, so it's a lot easier to make. I mean, it's not that much easier to make, but whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, that's an uncrewed vehicle. Like, by that logic, you know, 6-7 years, they should be able to get this thing figured out, but they haven't. They got 360, I think it was 360 million for a commercial crew to develop this thing. Like, and then they got a $1.4 billion infusion in Series A funding specifically for Dream Chaser. Guys, I don't care what you think. Look, you could say whatever you want about Dream Chaser. You can say whatever you want about difficulty in making spacecraft. 1.4 billion is enough to develop this vehicle in an uncrewed capacity alone. By itself. 1.4 billion is more than enough. It cost scales exponentially with complexity. Grim, you're telling me that this company has been fiscally responsible? They burned through $1.4 billion for Dream Chaser in the last 4 years. You're telling me that, oh, yeah, well, the scales with cost scales exponentially. No. I agree. You're right. You're wrong in this context. There's no freaking way, dude. There's no way. Look, man. How does this type of thing not lead to some form of Senate hearing? That's what I'm saying, man. Where's the $350 million they got for developing this thing? Yeah, Sierra Space secures 1.4 billion Series A capital raise, represents largest aerospace and defense capital raise globally in 2021, second largest private capital raise globally in the aerospace defense sector. Investment accelerates development of Dream Chaser and the Life commercial space. It's always money in the banana stand. How much did Starliner cost? 4.2 billion in 2014. What I was told when email would go out asking for someone to complete a part of a project, like 10 people would reply to that email. Then those 10 people will see that someone else had replied saying they would do the work. Everyone thought another person was doing the work and it would never get done. Wow. This, yeah, like I said, Cyborg, I've heard that from people. I heard that nobody takes it seriously. No one cares. And you know what, man? That pisses me off. You know why that pisses me off? Because they're using taxpayer. They use partially taxpayer money. It's okay. They probably got a great latte shop at Sierra, don't they? They also apparently relied on auto-coding software, so they had a bunch of flight software algorithms that no one wrote and you couldn't verify easily. They vibe-coded the guidance system? You've got to be There's no freaking way. I'm having problems. Yeah, my mind has been changed. Not vibe coding, auto coding. It's a MATLAB tool. Oh my god. I caught it. I caught it that time, David. Oh. What a mess, Rocket. What a freaking mess, dude. You gotta roll a duct tape to keep your head where the doctors can fix it. Yeah, right. Yeah. You know? Goodness. That's what I'm in ish. That's what I'm talking about, dude. Like, bro, what are you doing? What are you doing? He auto-coded the freaking software. What are you doing? What are you doing? What Jock said. What did Jock say? Hold on. Auto-coding is an industry standard. You specify the algorithms in MATLAB and it generates C code from it that runs on the actual flight computers. So that's, you're telling me that's not a bad thing? I know dick about software. Like, MATLAB though? MATLAB for a spaceship? Not super bad, but hard to review. Autocoding isn't inherently bad. You better have people that can also work with the C code that it's generated. All primes use MATLAB. Okay. MATLAB ain't bad. Stop the disrespect. It's an industry standard. I know. I told you their world headquarters was down the street from where I grew up. Why not just use ChatGPT? This is a little bit different from what Rocket Guy is telling me, dude. It's not exactly vibe coding, but It's vibe coding if no one knows how to read the code that it spits out. Like, needs to be set up right, but then it's pretty good in that the algorithms implemented should be actually what you simulated. Cool. Here. Yeah, fellas, look, man, I like being optimistic. I really do. I want to be optimistic about this. This thing ain't flying. It's not flying. I think Sierra Space is pivoting to other defense contracts, and I think they put this on the back burner on purpose. MATLAB is used more by, yeah, okay, by mathematicians, i.e. overalls, and by engineers. Sort of like Excels for managers, not something I would use in this case. Yep. Auto coding, I would say, is different from Vibe because you still completely create the algorithms you want first in Simulink. Then a rule-based engineer translates. But yes, it is still something you need people to actually know and understand and work with the C code that is generated. Which contracts? They haven't gotten any and they still have no money. It's fine, it doesn't produce optimized C code. Okay, interesting. Rule-based engine. A lot of telemetry, etc., that you see in mission controls are MATLAB UIs working with either real data or simulations based on sensor data. Interesting. Something's wrong. Something's wrong here, dudes. What I'm trying to string together, guys, is that, you know, there could be incompetent decisions, and that just makes it take more time, but you'll see steady progress here. You'll see steady progress. Like, you know, there was steady progress basically all the way up into early 2024. Like, they finished the tiles. They were given like regular weekly updates saying like, okay, we installed this tile. Like, they were posting it on X. I remember covering it for Space News, you know, and then they're like, oh, we completed thermal vacuum testing, right? And then, oh, we're moving it to the Cape. We're getting ready to launch. And then they fired everybody. Something that doesn't make sense. Something's wrong. Something. Maybe all of this, you know, maybe all of this quote unquote incompetence and, you know, MATLAB using. I know that's, I get it now. I understand. Maybe it all added up and they said, frick this. Management said, nah, never mind. It came to an end when they announced Sierra Space Defense. I remember this announcement. Yeah. It sounds like they're just going to pivot to Sierra Space Defense. Yeah. Check out Simulink later. It's a MATLAB extension. Kinder, if it's one thing I got to learn, dude, I got to learn the software side of stuff, dude. I am so ridiculously lacking in that area. It's kind of bad. It's bad. It's where all the money is right now. And when they announced they're going to make their constellation, I remember this. The Vinlerd, yeah, I remember. Yeah, they're Sierra Space is a subsidiary of SNC. Yes, yes, yep. Hey, how you doing? I'm good, ship watching. I have a big question before I have to go. Does NASA use those 5-segment SRBs ever? I know it's supposed to be used on Ares 5. Yeah, they're used on SLS. More money in defense. Plus, they were given the money from the contract, no need to complete it. I'm just, you know what's getting me, dude? It's like, fine, you want to pivot to defense. That's all fine and dandy, right? Whatever money NASA paid you for this, you're using their facilities and stuff, the things at the Cape. Whatever money that was taxpayer dollars that got put in your company, you should pay back if you want to renege on this. Check their defense catalog. Yeah, it's full of a bunch of stuff I don't really care about. Yeah. Yeah, they won't. That's what pisses me off. And who gets the shaft? NASA gets shafted. Yeah, you invest in something, you run the risk of investments going bad. Yeah, I understand that, but this is the public sector, Deadbringer. It's a little bit different. Smells like fraud. Hellfish, I don't know if it's fraud or something. I would be very interested in why everybody got canned. You know, they said, oh, well, we've made one spacecraft. We're going to fire everybody. That doesn't make any sense, dude. Boop. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense, dude. Axiom Space made a solar panel announcement. Yeah, I know. I have that teed up. Like, I don't know. You know, like, I'd be curious to know how much of this is on NASA as well. Like, but I don't know. Somebody's beeping their horn like crazy on Starbase Live. NASA's basically calling it a write-off with the let us know when you're ready. Sounds like the tech bro strat that's been messing up games and other software.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Yeah, we don't need to provide this thing for NASA. Yeah, we could make tons of money by actually making it work, but the defense contracts are right there, and they're easier to do. Dr. Devious, hey, tier 1 6 months in advance. Thanks, man. 56-month resub. Like, I don't know. It's just... At the end of the day, it's our money, and NASA's budget gets hosed. Yeah, Creation, I can't help but think that that's what's going on, dude.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
The defense budget is much higher, so even a small piece of that pie might be better for them. Yeah. Yeah. We don't need to follow through with this. We can make money over here. It's all right. We don't need to pursue that contract. Like, it's like, dude. This behavior should not be rewarded, but what do I don't know. The defense pivot is successful, then Dream Chaser will probably fly. Strict, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking they put Dream Chaser on the back burner, and it's, you know, that's why they're going to be like, oh yeah, we'll fly in 2026 or something. They put it on the back burner to make some cash, and then maybe they'll work on it later. But you know, like,
Discovery, go
Dude,
at throttle
if I got taxpayer money to do something, I would be working 24/7, 365 to make sure I did the US taxpayer right. I don't give a frick. I don't give a frick if it takes my heart and soul to do it. You know, you said you were going to do something and you got paid to do something and then you didn't do it. I don't like that. That does not leave a good taste in my mouth. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. You know, and it's really annoying. Like I understand Sierra Space and I understand they want to pivot to defense because it's more profitable. I get that. That's totally cool. You know, brother, you said you'd do this. You were on the hook for 7 resupply missions and you're not going to do one. You know, hey, Nova 1 year. Thanks, man. Another space project going nowhere. You know, Starliner. You guys got $4.2 billion. 4.2 billion with a B. Using quote unquote off the shelf technology. You know, you're using thrust, like they didn't have to do any thruster research. They used shuttle thrusters on Starliner. And you still screwed that up. What are you guys doing? Like, what do you do? What do you do? Like, you guys are on the hook for six so Starliner's on the hook for 6 missions. Is it gonna do 1? What have you guys been doing this whole time? Still no update on Starliner, by the way. Yeah, Phil. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, do you guys care? Like, do you care? Like, does anybody care? Like, there's no doubt that the people that are putting hands on the spacecraft give a frick. Like, I know, I get it. They care, but like, yeah, I know. It's dumb. Like, it's a lack of accountability. And you know what? Like, Aquilus, you're right. It is on NASA, you know, I mean, I think NASA is not completely off the hook here. It is on NASA to hold these people's feet to the fire, but they don't do it. They just, yeah, all right, it's going to cost you another $1 billion. All right, here you go. Like, Starliner's still pushing with prop system certification in White Sands. I can say for sure the next flight will be sometime next summer. Baron, all I'm saying is that when in the press conference after CFT1, they said that, well, we learned a lot about poppet seal degradation because we left a service module that we weren't using in a hangar in White Sands and didn't clean it out and just left it there. And it's the hypergol propellants have been sitting in there for a couple of years. And that we learned a lot about degradation from that. Dude, am I wrong in thinking that is a gigantic red flag? Like, what do you mean you just left a toxic fueled service module just sitting around? What does that mean? Yeah, that section of the base was closed after that incident. Oh my God. What are these people? What are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Like, I get it. It's easy for me with no skin in the game to point fingers and be like, what are you doing? You suck at this. Could I do better? Probably not. But you know what, dude? If I got $4.2 billion to make a spaceship, I would work myself to the bone. To the freaking bone to make sure that thing worked. All right. And I'm not going to lie to you. I'd probably fail harder than Boeing would. But at least, at least I tried, Like, just. It's very frustrating, dude. Like, it's really goddamn frustrating, dude. It's like, it's very clear that SpaceX cares. It's very clear they care. They really care about the mission. And I'm not saying that other commercial contractors don't. ULA cares about the mission. You know why? Because when they launch stuff, it freaking works, and it works perfectly, except the Cert 2. But they figured that out, right? Like, it's not, this industry isn't without its without its bumps in the road. Maybe they had your accountant. Yeah. Rocket Lab cares. They care about the mission. Yeah, exactly. It's just, it's an error to the system to avoid accountability. It's buried in layers and layers of bureaucracy to avoid the consequences of decisions made. I'm just sick of people taking NASA for a ride, and I'm sick of NASA bending over and taking it. It really pisses me off. Like, it's really annoying, dude. Like, you got a contract. You got tax dollars on the line. Take it seriously, please. Please. Space Force wants aggressor satellites to emulate adversary orbital capabilities. Okay. That's neat. That's right. Accountability goes in the square hole. Yeah. It's just really annoying. Anyway. Something fishy's going on with Dream Chasers. Something strange. I don't know what it is, but something else is going on here that we're not privy to. I don't know if it's incompetency. I don't know. But the bottom line is, dude, it's 2025. What do you mean it's going to take another year? You've been developing this thing for... The commercial crew demonstration capability, or the commercial crew transportation capabilities demo, or like the Dev 1 contract was in 2012. 2012. Guys, this brings up another question. This is just me. This is just me kind of brainstorming here. This is going to sound really strange. And even asking this question is just kind of weird in my mind. Are public-private partnerships between NASA and commercial entities a success or a failure at this point? I can't tell. Now, one could argue that it's been a tremendous success if you're SpaceX. Oh, because they care about the mission. That has a lot to do with it. But see, here's the thing. That's a one-off. That's one-off. That's a one-off example. Right? How many of these other commercial partnership contracts are so far behind schedule, like they're going to fall to the wayside, like Dream Chaser? Starliner? Dream Chaser now. Cygnus, the rocket, the SpaceX launches that. Who else? Axiom? They're way behind on the spacesuits and the space station modules. All commercial low Earth orbit destinations? Yep. Yeah, Creation, it's probably done like that on purpose because NASA has no spine. Fail, in your honest opinion, it privatizes the benefits and socializes the risks and costs. Even SpaceX exemplifies this. Yeah, like SpaceX has been a tremendous success, Oculus, and I'm not trying to sit there. That's a brilliant public-private partnership, but dude, that's like a drop in the bucket, like comparatively. And like the interesting thing is that, you know, commercial resupply and commercial crew was designed to get us to redundant dissimilar architecture going to the ISS, so NASA can bid on a service, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, how's that working out? We have one rocket that launches all the American vehicles to the space station. Oops. Yeah, Deadbringer, interesting point. And if it had gone under, we would have been on the hook for the fallout. Yeah. Another red flag for Dream Chasers having just one vehicle. If when it's lost during a test flight, the program is essentially over. Can't finish another partially built vehicle after laying off the production staff. Something's fishy. Something fishy is there. Something fishy's going on, dude. I want the GAO going after Sierra Space. And I wouldn't have said that yesterday. Something's wrong. Something is very wrong there. They should be investigated. That's weird, dude. Something fishy's happening over there. Is Blue still trying to figure themselves out? Ish. They said they wanted to launch 6 new blends this year with waterfall style testing. Oops. That was 8 months ago. ULA hasn't launched in, what, a year now? ULA launched this morning, Creation. What are you talking about? ULA, I would argue, is one of the only other entities in the launch business that actually give a frick. Tori Bruno cares. I know he cares. You know why? Because his rockets launch. Really weird. Weird how that works, right? We do have some successes in private space. Blue Origin, SpaceX, Rocket Lab are some of the successes. How is Blue Origin a success in the commercial partnership with NASA? How? They haven't launched one NASA payload. Blue was tasked with moving arguably like a CubeSat to Mars, the Escapade mission. That was supposed to be in late 2023. Or no, late 2024, excuse me. Since the pandemic, I don't know what year it is sometimes. It's very strange. Chris Kemp's comments about every launch provider. I hate to say it, and I hope it's not true, but do you think Sierra could have planned this all along, just use COTS fund to develop and then pivot to defense? No, I think they made the spacecraft too complicated, Creeper. This thing with the shooting star, payload services and stuff, the scope creep. Scope creep, I think, is what got him. I think scope creep got him. That and what from anecdotal evidence from people in chat that have heard things from people that the company, no one cares. No one cares. No one cares. It's just a mess. Everyone, oh yeah, just show up. Yeah, I work on spaceships. All right, cool. I'm gonna go browse Instagram. Like no one cares. How am I doing? I'm all right, Thick. That's what I'm, guys, like, once again, with the exception of SpaceX and Rocket Lab and a couple of other people, like, I hate saying this. I hate saying this because, like, everybody thinks that if I say this, that it's a shot at SpaceX. It is not a shot at SpaceX. SpaceX should do their own thing and surpass NASA because it's should do their own freaking thing. Like, I'm a huge Starship fanboy. I'm a huge Falcon 9 fanboy. It's pinnacle freaking design. It's the best, right? NASA needs to have their own program in-house. This is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Then shoot day in my life as a rocket engineer. Yeah, Moist, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. NASA needs their own program. NASA seems to be extra timid about just about everything. I don't think it's just accountability. This is why I think NASA needs USPS levels of insulation from political winds. You could say whatever you want about the Postal Service, but they've been delivering and setting the low bar on what they do technically for longer than the country's been around. No, that's fair. McDonnell Douglas got lightly spanked for charging NASA shuttle open-ended contracts with F-18 fixed bid work, hundreds of millions. Yeah, dude. Yeah, it like and yeah, that's dude, I don't know. I'm not trying to say that I could do better. But I'd like a shot. Give me a shot. I'll figure it. Like, I could figure it out. I wouldn't. I'd probably fail miserably. But like, clearly there's a way to do this right, and SpaceX is a pretty good example. So if if NASA came to me and was like, "We want you to spearhead a program for a capsule or something," I'd be like, "Okay, how does SpaceX do things?" Because that's where I'm looking. Like, okay, what do they do? All right, we're doing that. Yeah, I know, Ish. It's annoying. Yeah, there you go, Todd, for sure. You don't need to know how to cook to understand that you're being served crap. Yeah, man, it's really frustrating, dude. Sorry, like I don't mean to be a stick in the mud, man. I try to have some fun here, guys, but God, man, what are you doing? What are you doing? I just don't get it. Like, guys, I'm trying to find the words, but I just like I want to do something about it, but I don't know. I don't know what can I do? I can go build you stuff in Kerbal, like you know. I could put my stupid car together, like honestly, there's zero excuse for any action. Yeah, it's just I'm just build me. Yeah, right. Testify before Congress. Yeah, I don't know, man. Do I want to join that clown fiesta? I could show Ted Cruz how to do a proper Boston JFK impression because his is frankly awful. You emailed Tim Shee. It's a start. All right, that guy gets it. Maybe. I mean, maybe. I don't know. What brings up this topic? Dream Chaser is basically done, right? Yeah. You know what, fellas? I didn't think this would piss me off this much. Really, I really didn't think that it's pissing me off. Like, this is getting under my skin pretty bad. And my job's on the internet. There's not a lot that gets under my skin. Yeah, yeah, Bright. Dream Chaser's basically done. Yeah, that's NASA and Sierra Space agreed to basically take Dream Chaser off of commercial resupply 2 contracts and agreed that Dream Chaser will do an uncrewed free floating test flight sometime late next year. It's done, dude. It's done. It's not flying. Like it's done. They basically said, all right, come back to us and maybe we'll give you a contract when you're ready. Yeah, I know. That's right. Yeah, right. I didn't think this was gonna piss me off this much, dudes, but it got under my skin a little bit. Hang on. At this point, the rumor must be true. Starliner will do cargo missions with 1 or 2 crewed missions before the ISS is gone. Yeah, and where'd that $4.2 billion go? Yeah, yeah. Well, you only fulfilled 2 out of the 4 missions that you said you would do. Okay, it's firm fixed price. Where's the so let's see. 2 out of 6. What is that? 1/3? Okay, where's the $3 billion? We'll take that back, please. Or, well, let's say $2.5 billion for you not delivering on your contract. Where's that money, Boeing? We're not getting that back, are we? Why do you think NASA pawns so much to commercial? Why can't they just develop their own reusable vehicle? Um, the short story is that nobody in Congress wants to give NASA any money. The reason why they don't want to give NASA any money, or at least give them the bare minimum to keep the status quo at this point, is because NASA has no plan. There's no plan. Like the Artemis program, NASA keeps saying, "Oh, we're going to go to Mars. We're going to go to Mars." Yeah, okay. With what? With what? What are you going to Mars with? SLS? What are you going to do? Weld the stupid box that Boeing made you up to the top of that thing and shoot it at Mars? With what? What are you going to Mars with? The Gateway? Okay. No. There's no. So without a concrete plan, without solid goals, there's nothing. Like, you know, the reactions, the reason why NASA pawns so much off to commercial is originally it was out of some guise of being fiscally responsible. They said, "Oh, commercial can do it, and they can do it for not a big price. It's very cheap. It's cheap. Everything should be commercial. NASA should be doing all commercial things. NASA should be doing all commercial things. Oh yeah, we should just keep doing commercial." People have been beating that drum for like the last 15 years, and that's part of the reason why we're in the position that we're in. The incessant drive out of somewhat perceived fiscal responsibility to commercialize every single freaking NASA program that has not made any headway because there's no plan, has pretty much failed miserably except for commercial crew, like, and commercial resupply, and that's it. And I would argue that you're not really even getting much of what your money's worth, because you still had to spend billions of dollars to build that stupid space station. It was, they commercialized everything under the guise of saving money. What that means in political speak is less money for NASA. That's what that means. That's how you get programs like the Mars Sample Return Mission, which is a hugely contentious thing because people want, the president is calling to cancel the Mars sample return program. Now, at face value, right? At face value, it's like, oh, the president doesn't like science. Oh my God, he's not interested in science. What a dick, right? No. That's disingenuous at best. The Mars sample return mission isn't the Mars sample return mission. It's planning to figure out how you're going to do a Mars sample return mission. So it's planning for the mission. They didn't change the name conveniently. That's why they want to can it, because it's a plan for maybe how you're going to possibly do a Mars sample return mission in the future. But it's called Mars sample return. So if you go to cancel it, people are going to get mad. Like, oh, you don't care about science. You don't care about that. No. It's useless. Useless. It's a concept of a plan. That's what I mean. Like, useless. You know what bothers me? Like, I can't do anything about it. I can't do anything about any of this. So, guess we'll just play Kerbal or something. Who was that important constellation dude that had good testimony to Congress a while back? That's Mike Griffin. Mike Griffin. How do we even begin to fix this? Mac, I've said my piece. I've said my ideas. Long story short, I don't mind the Artemis program. I don't mind what it's designed to do, sustainability, etc., etc. Okay, 3 big things, line items, architecturally, okay? NASA needs their own lander. A commercial lander is all fine and dandy. Both of the commercial landing architectures are very, very complicated. One of them is entirely out of the scope for what NASA is trying to do. That's Starship HLS. Now, I don't have a problem with Starship, and I think that SpaceX will actually deliver on it if you really want my honest opinion. I don't think anything else will be ready, but I think they will. I'm dead serious about that. The rate of iteration that we're going to see from SpaceX over the next 12 months is going to be bananas. Your minds will be blown. Okay? We're not going at the flight rate that we're going with Block 2s. It's going to ramp. Starting basically in 2026. It's going to ramp like crazy. Block 3 is a huge difference, man. Now, with all that being said, Starship HLS is amazing. It is way overcomplicated. You're going to send 100 tons down to the surface just to send 2 people down there? How is NASA supposed to do any semblance of a routine exploration of the moon with that much logistics involved? SLD is the same. It's the same way. It's the same thing. And once again, this isn't hiking up Blue. I think they'll do it. I think Blue really is pining to get that lander, Blue Moon Mark 1 in New Glenn, going. I don't know why they haven't. Something is wrong, but I don't know what it is. I think they really are pining there because I think Blue has something to prove with getting a lunar lander to the moon before SpaceX does. However, these are very complicated architectures. Both of them require a lot of refueling. You're telling me you're going to sustainably explore the moon when both of your landers have to refuel multiple times on orbit? Now, I will say, at least SpaceX's stakeholder expectations for Starship call for hourly launches. So that, if they can do that, there's no doubt in my mind that they could have it ready to go on a relatively routine basis. But New Glenn, what's going on with that thing? 1 launch this year. They were supposed to do 6. They want to do 10 next year. What's going on? That's okay. With the rate that they're going at, they might be able to get to the point where they could fuel up a Blue Moon Mark II lander and get it out there maybe sometime in the late 2020s, like 2028 or 2029, maybe. And that's fine. That's all fine and dandy once again, but we're gonna, you know, you're gonna sustainably explore the moon this way. The Saturn V could send somebody there in one shot to the surface of the moon and back. And I understand you could make the argument that that's not as sustainable, but also at the same time, how are you supposed to coordinate something like this? How is NASA, I'm talking NASA now, how the hell are they supposed to coordinate something like this? They're having trouble getting 2 human-rated capsules to the freaking space station. Now, that's more Boeing's problem, but you understand how NASA's having trouble courting their commercial contractors right now. SpaceX being the one exception to this. In fact, SpaceX is picking up all the slack, which is why, once again, I think HLS would be fine. But also at the same time, like, you're going to rely, like that, what's the point? If NASA's just going to use SpaceX for everything, that totally defeats the whole purpose of commercial. If other commercial contractors aren't going to be able to do it, right? If they're not going to be able to do it, NASA needs their own in-house stuff. And this is what I mean about NASA needing their own lander and this revised architecture. NASA needs their own, just make another LEM. I don't care. Like, make something just like that. Orion's service module needs to be upgraded, and the EUS needs to be thrown out the window and replaced with a high-energy upper stage. I'm sorry, it just does. We need wet workshops with SLS to train and build prototype transfer vehicles to go to Mars, to hedge your bets just in case Starship doesn't do what SpaceX wants it to do. NASA wants to go to Mars. How? How are you going to Mars? They want to go to Mars. Guys, they want to go to Mars in the 2030s. With what? What are you going to Mars with? We need to be working on transfer vehicles. You need to be working on transfer vehicles right now. And you can't rely on a promise of Starship maybe being able to do it. Do you see what I'm saying? NASA's architecture, Mach, needs to be completely refactored. You need a better upper stage for SLS, higher energy upper stage that can throw 50 tons translunar injection. Orion needs to dump that crappy European service module. Not to disparage the Europeans. The service module is fine. We asked for a service module to do to have, what is it, like 3 kilometers a second delta V using a shuttle engine, and you guys did it, and it's perfect. It's perfect. It's what we asked for. The problem is with what we asked for. What we asked for is a piece of junk. Orion can't get to low lunar. He can't get to low lunar. What happens if someone gets stranded on the moon? What happens if there's an emergency and they have to get out? You can't get to the space station. You can only get to Gateway like once every 8 days. Orion not being able to get down to low lunar and stay there and loiter there like the LEM is a huge cutout in the safety for sustainably exploring the moon in the event of an emergency. Other thing, because the service module is dog crap, because Orion's supposed to go just to the Gateway and stay there. Now you need a 3-stage lander to get down to the moon. All right? Okay, you want a 3-stage lander. That's fine. Okay, if we want to do that, that's totally cool. All right? First of all, both of the lander options that NASA has, while reusable, are not 3-stage landers. They have to transit from rectilinear halo down to the surface, which is, you need a ridiculous amount of fuel to do that. Right? A ridiculous amount of fuel. So now you have to put bigger landers up there. That's why they both opted for refueling architectures. That's great in the long run. That's fine. But remember, aren't we in a space race? It's Space Race 2.0 again. Expediency is key here. And both of those architectures, well designed for sustainability, rely on a lot of unproven tech. Once again, I think SpaceX will get it, and I think Blue will get it. But once again, expediency here. I'm not saying they won't do it. Oh, they'll do it. They'll absolutely do it. NASA needs their own lander. They need an uprated service module for Orion, and you need a higher energy upper stage. That will fix this. That is something we can do if NASA pulls their head out of their tail. And you're going to need a little bit of a bump in funding to get it done. But that is something that we can do in 5 years. Sure, absolutely. But they, once again, will they do it? I don't know. That's my solution to the problem. It's not the best solution, but it'll work. This is going to sound weird, but I remember back when I first started playing Kerbal, I was having bad anxiety attacks, and I accidentally left a couple Kerbals floating in space to die trying to get to the moon, and it set you off. Oh, no. Tried and proven Saturn V system is better than all the dreams and promises that might get made or not. Bingo. You got to go with what you know at the end of the day. We did this a half century ago. Maybe we should start there. I get Blue is a private company, but they do have some public funding. Why haven't these contracts demanded some sort of transparency of them? How much a commercial company has to disclose, even though they have NASA contracts, which is supposed to be open and like public, is kind of a gray area right now, Fluffy. It's kind of a gray area. We're certainly not getting the transparency that you get with SLS, that's for sure. Proof to me, I'd insulate NASA from politics to the degree that the USPS is. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I just placed a $25 bet on Q2 2027 orbital transfer of fuel. I think it's happening next year, Ram. I'd say about a year from now. How would refueling work with Blue Moon? Would GS2 carry a fuel tank? Yes, a transfer vehicle, Vargon. They showed us the sun shield from it the other day, actually. You want to see it? It's actually super cool. Blue did give us an update on their transfer vehicles. Like I said, they will do it. I have no doubt that SpaceX and Blue will both be able to get this done. No doubt in my mind. But the goals have changed. It's not 2017 anymore. It's 2025. And we are in a very real Cold War with a near peer power. That is absolutely a thing. Yeah, there's the sun shield. Super cool, actually. Yeah, multi-layer insulation. It's MLI. Tinfoil. It's gold foil if you really want to know. But yes, Thick. I think that's I don't like you guys are gonna hate me for saying this, and I don't think that's bullcrap, dude. I think China has something to prove. I absolutely do, and I think they're gunning for us. I think that, friendly competition, whatever, it doesn't matter. They have something to prove. They have an axe to grind. So. That's what I mean about it not being 2027 anymore. Expediency is a thing now. Goals have changed. And to be 100% honest with you, like, good, I guess. Like, if that makes any sense, good. Sure, that's great. At least maybe something to light a fire under our tail, because we've been doing nothing for the past freaking 15 years. If that's what it takes, that's what it takes, man. Whatever. I'm happy they're doing it. I'm happy, I'm happy someone's doing it. We got to take a good look in the mirror. This is getting ridiculous. Cool. Yeah, that's for their transfer vehicle, man. Really good stuff. That's yeah, not necessarily for that. That's Blue Moon Mark 1 with Viper. Right? Guys, I know people don't want to hear that. I get it. I know you guys don't want to hear that. You want to come here for the happy-go-lucky space news. But okay, if it's expedient now, we need to pull our head out of our tail. I saved myself that time. Does China have a moon rocket? They're working on it, Tycon. Long March 10. They're doing a lunar orbit rendezvous architecture. Basically, they're not trying to build something like Saturn V. They're trying to build something like Falcon Heavy and launching 2 of those, one with a lander and a transfer stage and the other one with a capsule. China designs are stolen from contractors for NASA projects. So what? Who cares? Yeah, I know, Shogun, and we let them do it. Whose fault is that? I don't think that, well, Geek, I yelled at you about wanting another space race because historically space races have proved to make really great strides for a very short period of time, and then Congress goes back to having ADD again and then funds some other stupid thing. It's not very sustainable by Congress's own admission and NASA. But I think this time is a little bit different. The reason why it's different is, one, history doesn't repeat, it rhymes. Maybe we've learned from the lessons of the past. Unlikely, but maybe we have. The other thing is that, look, like I said, SpaceX and Blue, they're getting there. They're going to the moon, and SpaceX will get something to Mars. Mark my words, they will. It's going to work. There's no doubt in my mind here, dude. So that's eventually going to happen. You know, there's no way the government's going to let a commercial entity go to another planet without them having some say in it. You know what I mean? Like, or some way to duplicate, right? There's no way. That's not happening. So just consider that, dude. So, you know, if we pull our head out of our tail and we get back to the moon before China's first landing, right? You know, the commercial markets are going to follow suit. The commercial contractors are going to follow suit right behind that, dude. They're going to follow right behind. The government ain't going to stop going. Not now that commercial is going. Something is better than nothing at this point. You know, at this point, I'll agree with you on that one. Sure. Yeah, I know, Kyron. It's crazy. Hey, Lemon, what's up? You can't replace SLS first stage with super heavy. No. SLS just needs a better upper stage, dude. So quit lollygagging. Go revive the J2X program. Or do something. Propulsion research right now, pay somebody to do it. Propulsion research is happening more in the last 5 years than it had in the prior, like, 50. Okay? Every company's looking to make upper stages, looking to make second stage engines, first stage engines. Heck, get stoked to put an Andromeda engine on the freaking thing. I don't care. All right? You know, stop lollygagging. It's not 2008. There's an entire commercial market that you can buy motors from for upper stages. Yeah, use New Glenn's upper stage. The biggest thing I've heard with that Hellfish is that the VAB is too short to accommodate a stage that big, which think of that what you will. And you know what? My answer to that is what? NASA can't make a building taller? You can't make the building taller? Oh no. So what? Make the freaking building taller. Like, oh, we can't do that. Dude, what do you mean you can't do that? Yeah, Nate, exactly. RVAC. Yeah, dude. Put a methane upper stage up there with an RVAC behind it. Sure. That's fine. Whatever, dude. Just do it. Yeah, right? Like, you know, it's... Come on, man. Remember, space race. Are we not space racing? I thought we were space racing. Just make the VAB bigger. It's designed to... The VAB was built like a Lego kit so you could make it taller if you needed to. I'm serious. Go look it up. Actually, you can read about that in a book called Rocket Ranch. Really good book. VAB retractable roof when, yep. There's enough off-the-shelf stuff that you could cobble together a moon mission using parts from current working projects. There you go. That will need a new transporter. No, it won't. CT2 was built for SLS Block 1B. You guys may not like it, but that mobile launcher from Bechtel is strong enough to be able to handle a Block 1B with a bigger upper stage on top of it. Whoever thought that was going to cost $300 million is kind of a moron, but hey, whatever. Won't the Giga Baby taller than the VAB? No, about 2/3 the size. Why not 2 smaller rockets to launch orbital docking assembly? We've docked them before. Bill, if that's the case, just put a fairing on top of SLS and use SLS to build the damn thing. Or at least put a big upper stage up there and have Falcon Heavy or something deliver the lander or the payload or whatever. Or New Glenn. Like, we have all of these frigging rockets. All of these rockets. We could do... Like, bro, you could explore the moon if you human-rated Falcon Heavy. Human-rate Falcon Heavy and put a lander and use Impulse's 3rd stage inside of Falcon Heavy, and you could do an LOR program. Put Falcon on top, or put Orion on top of a Falcon Heavy, and do LOR. Lunar Orbit Rendezvous, 2 Falcon Heavies, boom. I mean, the problem there is that SpaceX only has 1 pad that can launch Falcon Heavy right now. That's the problem there. So you'd need to stage 2 Falcon Heavies at once. Something that I'm fully confident that SpaceX could get done in probably about 2 weeks. Rocket Ranch, AFD. Yeah, Rocket Ranch will teach you the nuts and bolts of the Apollo program, the systems engineering, why they decided to make the VAB the way they did. It's an awesome book. I have it on the shelf over there. What's the pad turnaround time? Oh, a couple of days at best, geek. Slick 6. Yeah, if they teed up Slick 6 for Falcon Heavy, guys, sure. Falcon can hit ISS inclinations, less than ISS inclinations from Vandenberg by doing a dog leg going southeast. We've seen Starlinks do it. So, yeah, you could absolutely... Dude, I don't think... Just to make sure everybody's on the same page, SpaceX could launch Dragon 2 from Slick 4 right now with a crew access arm. Like, you could launch Dragon 2 and you could get to the ISS from Vandenberg. They won't do it because there's no fixed service structure, no crew access arm, and no Dragon facilities at Vandenberg, but you could do it. Absolutely. Falcon 9s are putting Starlink satellites into, like, what is it, 54-degree inclined orbits from Vandenberg? The ISS is 51. You can absolutely get to the ISS from Vandenberg with a Falcon 9 right now. And a downrange drone ship landing. Since we're being blunt and honest, I think we are in the middle of 2 Cold Wars, and both are reasons on why we should be innovating and pushing faster and further in space. Sure, Sledge. Yeah, you could launch 2 Falcon Heavy several days apart. Yep. Hey, Bowles, what's up, man? But anyway, sorry, this turned into a huge op-ed, dudes, and I see that chat is kind of dying down. I think I said my piece. Axiom, the other bit of space news is that Axiom got a contract with Redwire to use their rollout solar arrays on their modules, which is pretty cool. Why is the search bar open? Get off. Wait, why not launch a Falcon Heavy from Vandenberg in Florida? Well, Slick 6 is what they're retooling it into a Falcon Heavy pad, geek. I mean, we don't know what the progress is on that, but Axiom are making a lot of moves these days. Yeah. Oh, look at this. Blue Sky Wanderer, look at you. You're only now contracting for your rollout solar array? No way you're going to get the module into space before fast. At this rate, you're not going to be the first commercial space station like you've been advertising. Ah, I love the internet. Oh, man. So I want to point out that Axiom's first modules were supposed to be sent to the space station in 2022. Holy ratio. Yeah, right. Oof. And also Chris Kemp went off the deep end. Chris Kemp went off the deep end. You already talked about the aborted ISS boost. Do you know if when they post boost schedules, NASA usually tweets about it, AFD? Yeah. I got to teach you a Gen Z term. Ratio is when you dog walk somebody so bad they're a public humiliation. Yeah, I know. I know, Grim. My generation calls that getting owned. You got owned, son. That's what my generation calls that. So you could say that and people will look funny at you. Get owned. Yeah, owned with a P. Exactly. That's how you say it. Want to learn about 6-7. Isn't that like I'm leaving or something? I don't know. What is that? What does that one mean? No, Shex, I haven't seen that. Wouldn't be as cool as Armageddon. Yeah, that's right. You guys with your weird speak. No, we just say it's 6 or 7, so we say 6-7. Those are numbers. Here. This is what he said. I heard him say this. He said this in a symposium. It's more fun than SpaceX because we're not on the border of Mexico where they'll chop your head off if you accidentally take a left turn. And you don't have to live in a trailer. And we don't make you work 6.5 days a week, 12 hours a day. It's appreciated if you do, but not required. Wait, what did he say about blue? Hold on, let me see. I call it the Blue Origin and NASA approach, where you spend tens of billions of dollars, and in 20 or 30 years, you build a rocket and it works the first time. This is super important if what you're trying to optimize is it works the first time. And for a program run by a nation state or a billionaire that don't want to have a rocket blow up, this is prudent. But it does take decades and cost tens of billions of dollars for you to do the analysis and testing. That's kind of right. Yeah, that's the same guys yesterday, Snib. Yep. Did you see the article about NASA safety team's views on HLS? Yeah, Strickler, NASA says that HLS is going to be a little ways behind, but that's because I don't think they understand iterative design, but that's just my personal opinion. I'm sure their cause for alarm is not unwarranted. He talks a lot of trash for a failure. Yeah. Guys, what do I keep telling you? Talk is cheap in the spaceflight business. Talk is cheap. Talk is cheap. Very cheap. Show me the hardware, baby. Chris replied to that burger post, by the way. Students enjoy hearing the truth. On that note, Eric, let's set the record straight. Prior to a series of test launches that did not carry payloads, Astra conducted 4 operational orbital launches of Rocket 3, which two were perfectly successful, deploying 23 small satellites to their operational orbits. Of the 2 failures, one of them, the famous sideways liftoff, fully recovered and was on its way to orbit, but was terminated because of an error made by the government flight safety officer. Yeah, that's that mission right there. Yeah. Look at Joe's reply to that tweet. Where is it? On its way to orbit. At minimum, you lost like 300 meters a second delta V in your first stage, and we're about 30 seconds from Miko at 30 kilometers, half the nominal altitude for T plus 2 minutes and 30 seconds. That thing was never making orbit. You can't say you care about truth and have it both ways. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Check the comments on that. It may seem unbelievable, but it had the performance reserved to make orbit. That was determined by simulating the failure in a Monte Carlo sim. The biggest barrier was stage 1 engine pump battery capacity to complete the stage 1 burn, since the failed engine's battery becomes unusable energy, but subsequent flights showed that there was around 20% battery margin. Who is this? Okay. All right. Eh. Yeah, talk is cheap, fellas. Like, that's all. Talk is cheap, bros. Very cheap. Has he always been talking crud like this? I don't know. I'm not really sure what the end game there is by saying all that stuff. Brother, I spent like 2 weeks down at Starbase, and dude, CBP was all over the place, man. Like, you're not gonna... Now, I can't like say what happens in Mexico because I didn't go over there, but brother, you know, one could make the argument that it's like, it's really easy to wander into Mexico. No, it's not. There's a big frigging river in the way. The Rio Grande is there. That's not a small river. You know, like, you're not... Sounds like he's frustrated. I just don't really understand what your goal is here, dude. But you can swim there from Massey's, sure. I don't know why you would do that, but you could. Did you see anything like that? Yeah, nice. I just don't... Like, Starbase is fine, dude. Like, you're not going to get beheaded going down there. Like, brother, I was there for a long time, wandering around in the dunes, sometimes late at night, fixing things. It's not going to happen. And this wasn't like, I went out there once and was like, fine. No, we were out there all the freaking time. No one's doing nothing. What would you have to say? Oh, it's close to Mexico, so that's bad. Look at the top response to Ryan's tweet. Let me see. Huh. I don't know, brother. I don't know. I really don't understand what Chris is trying to get at. He's trying to tell the truth. Like, you know why like, I don't think anybody that works at SpaceX goes there, gets a job there, goes to work and says, wait, but what about my work-life balance? Like, I'm pretty sure anyone that applies to work there understands what they're getting into. They're not exactly like, you know, it's not like they're not upfront with this. They're like, no, you're gonna work a lot. Like, and if somebody doesn't want to work 60 hours a week and work in the aerospace industry, that's fine. There's plenty of other companies. And I think that's the point he's trying to make, but why disparage, like, brother, it's like, what is he gonna do? Slap him back? I'm Rick James. He's Charlie Murphy. You know, like, what are you talking about, man? I know people that work there, Noctralox, yeah. Who is Chris anyway? He's the CEO of Astra. Astra did, to his credit, Astra did launch payloads into space on a rocket, their Rocket 3. Astra also is notorious for failing. They had that rocket that slid off the pad. They had another rocket where the fairing didn't deploy, and they deployed a payload inside of a fairing. That ended about as good as you think. They had another one where their staging didn't work. Like, and then after a lot of failures, they said, no, just kidding, we need a bigger rocket, and have been trying to build Rocket 4, a bigger rocket, since. Those kind of comments are meant to be inflammatory to get attention to raise public profile. The truth is not relevant. Yeah, I think you might be right, dude. Also, they went bankrupt. Yep. I don't know, dudes. I'm pretty sure anyone who applies to SpaceX knows they're going to work their tail off. You have to, dude. It's expected. Like, there's no delusions about that. Like, the way he's talking is like, you know, SpaceX isn't going to be upfront that you're working 60 hours a week, 6 days a week, like 12-hour days. No, everyone knows this. Like, there are other options. You could work at Firefly, you could work at Rocket Lab, you could work at Astra. Like, I think, once again, that's what he's trying to say, but you can just say what I just said and say the same thing without sounding like a jackass. Oop. Damn it, I did it again. I'm working on it. I'm trying, man. I'm trying to get better. Yeah, there you go, Chimp. That's another good way to say that. Now, like I said, I want Astros to succeed. I just don't really understand what your end game here is. Like, I said this yesterday when we were reading about what he was saying, and what he was saying, he said some crazy stuff about Firefly the other day, too. Dude, the aerospace industry is small, man. It's a small industry. Everyone knows each other. You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised how your name goes around. Like, dude, I see people with EJ shirts on Starbase Live all the time, and dude, everyone knows everybody. Everybody knows everybody. Got to be careful. Like, you can blacklist yourself real quick. That's why, like, I try to be, I try to be encouraging with my words, but I try to be critical, but I also try to be objective. I'll never say, no, that company sucks. I'll never do that, because the truth is that this is a hard business to be in. But yeah, you got to be careful with your words. Yeah, Fluffy, I've been doing 50-hour work weeks pretty much since 2015, dude, with little to no exceptions. Running your own business takes a lot of work, man. Anyway, that was a very heated space news, dudes. Sorry it got crazy. Think it needed to be said, but that you, John Wayne? Is this me? I think we mostly agree with you. More like EJ's rocket rants. Yeah. Spicy Thursday. I was in a meeting for most of it. I'll have to catch up on the VOD. Yeah, Jim, the gist of it is that Dream Chaser's dead in the water. Axiom signed a contract for solar panels for their space station modules that they should have launched in 2022. And Chris Kemp, basically the CEO of Astra, has gone off the deep end. Wait, what happened to Dream Chaser? NASA released it from CRS-2 and basically said, it's clear that this isn't going to be ready anytime soon. Do a test flight or something in the future, and then call us after you do a test flight, not getting anywhere near the space station. And Sierra Space said, yeah, okay, that's fine. We'll do it sometime a year from now. Dream Chaser, until I hear otherwise, pretty much dead in the water, dude. Yeah. Sucks. That's pretty much why I'm really in a bad mood. The Dream Chaser one pissed me off, man. Ugh. Oh, it's such a bummer, dude. I'm so upset. Why am I upset about this spacecraft? There's other spacecraft, but man, I really wanted to see that one go, dude. That sucks. Uh, Let the Arca fashion flyer cheer you up. I don't know if this is gonna help, Shex, but I'll check. I Shex, that didn't help. That didn't help at all, man. That did. Oh. Let's play Stationeers, dude. That's gonna do it for this Space and Rocket review. I'm good. I'm good. You guys good? I'm good. I'll see you guys tomorrow. For the space news component tomorrow will be Flame Trench. Just a reminder, there's no early hours tomorrow. I have to I have to drive up into the city, help my parents out with some stuff. And
Listen, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
I have a deadly fear of speed bumps. I'm slowly getting over it.
I Process went back from humans and dogs is now back to mice and flies. Yeah, on a freaking Vostok capsule, Tup Show. I saw that. Did you show the Vectis? Vectis? I haven't. The Lockheed drone, but yeah. All right. Okay. And on that terrible disappointment, it's time to end. Yeah, so I'm not streaming early hours tomorrow. It's just Flame Trench and racing. We'll be back with the next space news on Monday. But for now, we're going to go into after hours, play some Stationeers. You guys know the drill. I'm going to jog the VOD over on YouTube. Don't go anywhere. I'll be back momentarily.